Welcome back to the JCPod, partner with Stare Down Sports. Stare Down greatness. We are officially 1 week away from the NFL draft. So this time next week, we have the NFL draft for this upcoming season. Man, is it crazy how time flies. But today, got a little bit of NFL news to talk about. Not a whole lot, just a little bit. Then we will finish off with one question I have for every NFC team heading into the 2026 NFL draft. We did this with the AFC teams last week. Now we're here to do it with the NFC teams. But before we get into that, let's talk some NFL news. Apparently, there are teams out there who are reaching out to the Raiders about the number one overall pick. Spytech has come out and said that they have received some calls about it, but apparently... Oh, that's sorry. I thought there was... I misread something. But yeah, so there are teams reaching out to call about the number one overall pick. But if we're being honest, it's probably going to take a lot to get the Raiders to move off of that draft pick, because I'm pretty sure they've had their eyes on Fernando Mendoza for... 4 or 5 months at this point. I'll just talk about this one briefly. This is just a wild story in general. In light of all the stuff that's been going on, Diana Rossini has resigned from the Athletic. I'm not going to get much into detail into this because I honestly don't know what the hell's going on. But either wild situation. That's just the best way to put it. Whether it happened or not, just wild situation. Giants are engaged in, they're talking to teams about a potential DeMarcus Lawrence team. This situation, according to Ian Rappaport, the situation surrounding DeMarcus Lawrence should have a conclusion by next week's NFL draft. So if we see the Giants looking at drafting a defensive tackle, that potentially could give us a sign. But like I said, Harbaugh did want to try to make a deal with him, but the fact that nothing really has come out, he requested the trade in April. Giants have kind of come out, obviously, publicly and said that they can find a way to retain him. But I guess we'll know what's going to happen with this situation a week from now. So that's going to be... That's a big player to be moved. I mean, he's a really, really good player. He had one of his best seasons last year, and a team that was... I think it was 2 years ago. He had, a career year on a team that was, absolutely horrible. They should have traded him then. They didn't trade him. So then he plays last year. Doesn't play the... I don't know. I mean, he still had a really good year last year. It's just his standards maybe wasn't as best of years. But still, the fact that the Giants haven't got a deal done with him is just... that's just the biggest thing this all comes down to. The fact they haven't signed him back is just kind of crazy. I mean, he's a really good player for them. He's been loyal, and now it's the point where he's asking for a trade. And, I don't know if they actually do it, to be honest. Yeah, he had career low in sacks last year, so maybe that's something that's scaring some teams off potentially. But he's only 20 years old. He still has 2 years left on his contract, so he might have to just play it out. That is also a possibility. We'll see next week. The Commanders have unveiled new uniforms. One cool addition they did have is one of the helmets has the arrow in it, which I think is absolutely awesome. Still kind of... wish they were able to go back to their... Commanders has gotten to the point with me now that it's not weird. I don't mind it, but they do have a lot of tradition with that other name, so but let's be real. They probably ain't going back to that old name, especially in this day and age. The Panthers GM has come out and said Dan Morgan has come out and basically said that they wouldn't hesitate to draft the third wide receiver in the first round if it's somebody to their fitting. I think where they've gotten mocked a lot recently is, I want to say, I just had to pull up one because I honestly couldn't think of it. They have, Peter Schrager has them taking an offensive tackle. I've heard somebody say they'd be intrigued and would like for them to take a pass rusher because you can never have enough pass rushers or edge rushers, which they definitely aren't wrong about. And then Dan Moore comes out and said, maybe we'll take a wide receiver. I could potentially see it. I don't think they will, but it wouldn't be too shocking because, obviously Tedero McMillan's their guy. Xavier Legret, they took number 32 in 2024, and it just seems like Xavier Legret, he's not a bad player by any means, but for what they drafted him for, he is not, I think, what they totally expected. So if they find somebody who's potentially a little bit better and maybe fits a better role, they pretty much drafted Xavier. They wanted him to be a number one, and when he was not a number one. No offense to him, but so then they bring in Tet. Tet obviously is their number one, so now they might look to bolster the room. But like I said, I've heard offensive linemen, and just an interesting situation. He come down and said this, but like I said, heard pretty much that they're looking at taking a offensive lineman or a pass rusher potentially. So look for the trenches for the Carolina Panthers. Something that's intriguing too, this is just a Panthers side note that I learned today that I didn't even realize was a thing. This was the first year that Bryce Young averaged over 188 passing yards a game. Which just kind of like blows my mind because he had some really, really good games, but kind of just reminded me a little bit, and I look back and just like, wow, he had some really, really bad games. So shout out to Tet for being able to win Rookie of the Year. Still kind of butthurt for my bet on Shuck to win Rookie of the Year, but yeah, shout out to Tet for being able to win Rookie of the Year under those circumstances. Because like I said, 188 yards, especially in this day and age NFL, not a whole lot of yards, to be honest. The NFL has a memo that is the hiring of replacement referees is progressing. I think I have a quote here from a reporter who was looking into the situation. The NFL Forum Club, here it is. The NFL, this shout out Tom Pelissero, by the way. The NFL Forum Club today, the league's officiating staff has begun on board potential replacement officials and will conduct training sessions next month in preparation for assigning the officials to off-season practices starting June 1st. This is from a memo obtained by NFL Network. Several officials already completed required background checks and soon will be given physical exams. The leagues reiterated the memo that it remains committed to reaching a fair and reasonable agreement with the NFL Referees Association, but will be fully prepared should the current agreement expire on May 31st, which is, like I said, we've mentioned it many times. I'll bring it up again. These replacement referees, these are, a lot of them, I think like 99 point, I don't want, even not 99, but maybe pretty much like 99% of them are officials that don't think they're going to make it to the NFL, because if you're going to make it to the NFL, I don't think you want to piss off the NFL Referees Union, especially because the way it sounds like that referees union is run. You really want them to be on your side if you want to make it to the NFL. So a lot of these guys who are doing this job and being the replacement referees are guys who are like D3 in college guys who probably are never going to make it to the NFL or know they're never going to make it, so they're okay with taking this gig. So that is my one kind of big concern. Like I said, it's probably like 90-95% of them. Maybe there's a couple in there that actually are really good referees that are just doing it, but that's just going to be my big concern going into it, and just in general still. That is going to be a wild situation to figure out, because it seems like they're still pretty decently far apart, and all of a sudden May 31st is not that far away. I mean, the NFL draft, we started the timer, I think, or the countdown, 24 or something days away, and all of a sudden we're 7 days away. I mean, time goes quickly, so May 31st is going to roll up on us before we know it, so that could potentially be a scary situation. The Dolphins GM has come out again and said they're not trading Devon Achane. He's actually also, Devon Achane's reported to some offseason stuff in good grace, pretty much a good grace thing, hoping that they're going to be able to come strike a deal. So that is really good news for the Dolphins, because, yeah, that's in a season where there is in an off season where there hasn't been a lot of good signs other than maybe signing Malik Willis and turning over a new leaf. Let's finally have some good news for them, and hopefully they can get this deal done with Achane, because pretty much he is like, of all the players recently, he's pretty much the biggest name there that's left, and they said they're going to build around him, so you got to think they'd get a deal done, right? The Rams unveiled some new uniforms, and I'm not going to lie, at least with the Commanders, there were some differences here and there. They changed up like the number font, changed some colors around so they're able to wear certain stuff with the gold pants. The all black added the arrow to the helmet. I genuinely do not know what the Rams changed with their uniforms. They look the exact same to me. Helmet looks the exact same. So apparently the new uniforms removed the Rams chest tag and dropped the gradient effect from the pant stripes. Not gonna lie, I don't fully know how I feel about that. Just having that empty gap in their chest without the team name on it just feels, maybe I just like the little, like, logo thing right here, but them taking off, I mean, it's not the biggest deal, honestly. I mean, that's basically, it's just like, hey, we got new jerseys, we took the name. The only thing I could think of at this point is why they did this is, hey, we want to sell some new jerseys, so we're just going to take the name off, or we're going to just change, like, 2 things and be like, hey, look, these are new jerseys, but in reality, they're just the same jerseys for a bit more of a price. I don't know. Like I said, it's not the biggest in the world. It's kind of wild. That's where the only change is. Two things to end with. I guess, yeah. There's only two more things I want to talk about. Cowboys restricted free agent Brandon Aubrey has until Friday to sign an offer sheet with another team. If he doesn't, Dallas retains his rights for the 2026 season. So basically until tomorrow, I believe, is when he has to sign it. So by the time you see me on the show next week, if I don't talk about Brandon Aubrey, about said Brandon Ayuk. If I don't talk about Brandon Aubrey, probably means he signed with the Cowboys. And then the final thing, this is interesting because the Jets have the number 2 overall pick. Schefter came out and said they have all the information they need already on Bailey, and that's why they felt like there's no reason for a visit. But he was supposed to have a 30 visit today, and the team canceled their visit. So there's been a lot of rumors. Are they taking Arvell Reese or are they taking David Bailey? It feels like it's going to be one of those two. And there's been a lot more talk about, like, hey, maybe they kind of want they want a guy who's ready to play now, so that's why they're taking a David Bailey. But at the same time, Arvell Reese is more like a Fred Warner type, and that would be awesome for the defense. I don't know. I'm not saying Arvell Reese is going to turn into Fred Warner, but that's just some of the comparisons they're making. So it's a situation where I want to say because they canceled the visit, maybe that's just like, hey, we're all... Obviously, Adam Schefter says because they're all good and everything, and that's basically what I was going to say as well. So, like, hey, we're all good. I think we know what we got, and it's pretty much between... And then, like, inside the building, it's like, all right, so between these two players, who do we want to choose between? So, interesting there. And now we are going to officially end it with the one question I have pretty much for every team. Like I said, this is going to be like it was for the AFC. We're only going to do like a minute or two on each team. Some teams... question's going to be a bit more basic. Other teams, it might be a little bit more complex. Nothing too crazy. For the Philadelphia Eagles before the draft, this is an easy layup. Are they taking a wide receiver? What are they focusing on drafting, and does this lead to the... And basically, this is a compound question, because does this lead to the A.J. Brown trade? There is a lot of smoke now when it comes to an A.J. Brown trade. And you know the good old saying, where there's smoke, there's usually fire. So you got to wonder... Are they actually going to move him? They've talked a lot about, like, we aren't going to trade him. We aren't going to do this. But then there's been so many other reports that are talking about, like, hey, we're doing this. Or, excuse me. There have been a lot of other reports like, hey, they've talked to some of these teams about a trade already. But they aren't going to do anything till June 1st anyway. So we still got a long way to wait on the A.J. Brown trading part. But you've seen them pick up some wide receivers as well. They traded for Dontavian Wicks. Picked up some other guys. So that's a situation where do they draft another wide receiver as well? And... if they do, is that going to lead to the A.J. Brown trade? For the Dallas Cowboys heading into this draft, I'm just curious what defender they're going to get. It pretty much just comes down to that. I think it's pretty much guaranteed that they're going to draft a defensive player unless by some miracle like a player like Jeremiah Love ends up falling down to them at number 12. But pretty sure they're going to draft a defender. A lot of people saying if Caleb Down makes it there, that's who they're going to take. And, I mean, past that, I really just don't have... They have a lot they need to fix defensively going into next year. I'm curious about the George... I mean, I guess I do have a couple questions, like the George Pickens situation, what's going to go on with that. But that's where we're visiting, obviously, when we do the series again in the summer, right before we do our breakdowns, bets, and all that stuff for the divisions that we normally do. Because, yeah, this Cowboys team, they went 7-9-1 last year. Offensively, they had it. Defensively, not always. They got a lot to fix on that defense, man. They got a lot to fix on that defense. For the Commanders, I'm curious, will they trade up to get Jeremiah Love, or are they just going to sit at 7 and take whoever they can take? A lot of mock drafts, honestly, have Jeremiah Love going to the Titans at number 4, so I'm curious, my question, do the Commanders trade up? Do they get him, or do they just stay where they're at, get who falls to them? Peter Schrager has the mock taking Sonny Styles, so... Sonny Styles was the one that was compared to Fred Warner, not Arvell Reese. I completely screwed that up earlier. We'll leave it in, though, because, hey, goes to show you, I've been listening to so much draft talk now, I'm starting just to blend these guys together. And honestly, it's a thing that happens a lot, is we talk about the draft so much that at a certain point, you just start overanalyzing and overlooking at things. But, like I said, I am curious to see if the Commanders are going to stay put, or if they're going to trade up for Jeremiah Love. They could really use a running back, but... Sonny Styles honestly wouldn't be a bad pick for them either. So yeah, that's my question. Do they trade up to get Jeremiah Love, or are they going to sit pat and just take who they can and build that way? Which, I mean, that was honestly, as much as Jeremiah Love would be an awesome piece for them, probably better for them to sit and take who they can, because they do have a decent amount of pieces they need to fill in that defense. And to round out the NFC East, we will start with my question for the Giants. This will be another Jeremiah Love question. If the Titans don't take Jeremiah Love, do the Giants take him at 5, or do they, Traeger has them taking an offensive tackle, do they stick with the offensive line to protect Jackson Dart? That is a move, because, I mean, there's a lot of talk, because Cam Scadaboo obviously is coming back from an injury, but with his play style, there's a lot of questions on how many years he's going to last. Jeremiah Love is just a generational talent at running back. There's a rumor that Tennessee could think about Bailey or Reese if they still have them on the board, or if they're still on the board potentially, or they might even go Ruben Bain. It's just, Schrager has it in here that they doesn't think that the Titans are going to pass on Jeremiah Love, which that's going to hurt my heart so bad if they get Jeremiah Love as a Colts fan, because after dealing with Derrick Henry, now we got to deal with Jeremiah Love. But yeah, I'm curious to see what the offensive lineman. I'm curious to see what the New York Giants do in the draft, because that is a team that they obviously need some offensive line help to protect Jackson Dart, and I mean there's some other. I mean that's a team that has a lot. They went 4-13 last year. They have a new coach this year, Harbaugh. A lot of hype around them, so I'm curious to see what draft pick he does to start off his era. But this is a team a lot of people are picking them as their sleeper team. I'm going to do a little bit more research, because I don't know if I'll enjoy the hype train fully. I do think the Giants are going to be better this upcoming season, but yeah, I'm curious to see, 1, how many games Jackson Dart's going to play because of injury and all that, and then 2, I don't know. It's the Giants, man. I want to see them kind of do it. It's been a while since they've done it. So the next division we're going to move to is the NFC South at this point. For the Carolina Panthers, I guess my question for them, do they draft offensively or defensively? That is a team where they could definitely use some help on the offensive line. They obviously could use some help on defense as well. Their defense definitely stepped up last year, but definitely could be a lot better. Offensively, I mean, they definitely had some struggles on the offensive line. So if I had to guess, they probably are going to draft the offensive line. We just talked about this a little bit earlier, too. It's going to be edge or offensive line. They're definitely going to do something trenches. So my question for them is, what do they do? A lot of these questions are already in the draft questions, oddly enough. But yeah, what do they do in the draft to fix this situation? As for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, do they draft a replacement for Mike Evans? Because Mike Evans obviously left in the offseason. They got a Emeka Egbuka, who's definitely... He had a rookie slump in the season. You would think that he takes a step up to play a little bit more closer to what he was doing that first half of the season. They have Chris Godwin there. They re-signed Cade Otton. I also am curious, is Todd Bowles on the hot seat? Maybe I should make that... that might be the question for when we do part 2 of this in a couple weeks. But is Todd Bowles on the hot seat? Because another 8-9 finish for them this season. Eliminated from the playoffs. It's been a rough couple of years. Even when they win divisions, they're winning them 9-8. There's a couple games that you look in there, it's like, how in the... they have some games where it's like, how'd they win that? But there are a lot more games where you're like, how in the hell did they find a way to lose that game? So for the Bucs, I am curious to see if they replace Mike Evans in the draft. But I guess the bigger question is this a hot seat season for Todd Bowles, or is he safe this year and next year's like hey, we really got to see something? For the Atlanta Falcons, I guess my question for them is, are we going to see James Pierce back this season? He's obviously has a lot going on in the offseason. You know what? I don't want to make it about James Pierce. Let's make it about the quarterback. Who the hell is going to be starting quarterback for Week 1? Is it going to be Michael Penix? Is it going to be Tua Tagovailoa? I won't lie to you. I had both these questions there. I don't want to do such a negative one with the James Pierce situation. Let's do a intriguing one when it comes to the quarterback situation. Do we see Tua start the season as Michael Penix gets a little bit healthier and then he rolls in? Or is it going to be Michael Penix starting the season if he struggles? It's just one of those situations. You can go from Tua to Penix, and then you can potentially bring Tua back, but then we know Penix is done. But if Penix starts and you bring in Tua, is there any bringing back Penix? This is kind of a similar situation to the Anthony Richardson situation when he was getting benched and moved around. It's like, can you go back to him? Will he lose some confidence? Like, once you bench the guy, can you bench the guy for a couple weeks and be like, actually, we need you back in here. Go ahead. And he has full confidence. Some guys are able to handle that better than others, so that is just obviously a situation that we'll have to see if that plays out with the Falcons, because I think Tua's probably going to end up starting for them week 1 if they figure out the Michael Penix situation. I don't even know if Michael Penix is their guy, because the guy who drafted Penix is obviously gone at this point now, so I don't know. They at least have 2 lefties in there, so they can keep the system the same. And for the Saints, my question for them is, how do they take a next step up this year? Obviously, Tyler Shuck is going to be their starter. If he started all season for them, there's a chance they could have been a little bit more competitive in this division. They ended the year on a pretty good win streak. They won, 4. Won 4 of their last 5. They started off the season with just 5, 6, 1 and 8. Just ugly start the season. Then Tyler Shuck ended up starting shortly after that, and he actually played pretty decent. So my question for them is, how do they take a step up in year 2 into the Tyler Shuck era, and are they able to figure out the next steps? That's the best way to put it. Are they able to figure out the next steps? Because this is a team that I don't know if it's been rebuilding. I don't know if it's just been stagnant. They've just been kind of just lost for a couple of years. And now it seems like, hey, Tyler Shuck is our guy. He played pretty well. Now we head into another year where, Kamara's one of the last few holdovers from the Breeze era teams and everything. This is obviously a complete new era for the Saints. So are they able to take able to take a step forward with Shuck? Or is it just kind of like a lightning in the bottle a little bit with Shuck, and then now it's over? I think Shuck should be a decent quarterback, so I would like to see him take a step up. If I had to guess, I think the Falcons might end up being the team who's last in this division, honestly. If not them, no way the Bucs are, right? But I think it could potentially end up being the Falcons this year if the Saints are able to take that step forward. Now we're going to do the NFC North. First question for the Detroit Lions: how's their offense look this year? Because they have Drew Petzing coming in. He's obviously a really good run game guy and scheming stuff up in the run game. But when it comes to the pass, little bit dicey, to say the least. So I'm curious to see how that's going to translate now that he's the new guy over in Detroit. Usually it's hard to feel good about a signing when the whole fan base, the previous fan base he was at, is celebrating and cheering that he's gone. Because usually when that's happening, it's like, okay, maybe they know something that we don't. But like I said, Petzing's pretty good in the run game, so it should help out a lot with Gibbs and everything. But it's going to be interesting to see what they do in the passing game. I think Dan Campbell's come out and basically said they kind of want to go back to the old Lions of who they were. So it makes sense they might try to go back to the ground and pound a little bit. But yeah, I am very curious to see how the offense is going to look, because like I said, the passing wise for the Cardinals, curious to see if that's a Kyler Murray thing or if that was a Petzing thing. As for the Minnesota Vikings, is J.J. McCarthy done in Minnesota? Obviously, Kyler Murray's going to be starting there for this upcoming season. Kevin O'Connell, it's come out now officially, Kevin O'Connell wanted to sit J.J. McCarthy to let him learn a little bit more and keep Sam Darnold. The GM wanted, for the Vikings, the former GM, because he got fired at this point now, wanted J.J. McCarthy to start right away and play, and we saw it did not look good for J.J. last year. So curious to see if now that the GM's gone, there's going to be a new guy coming in. Does he want his quarterback of choice after Kyler Murray? Is Kyler Murray just going to end up becoming the guy, and then J.J. gets 3 or 4 years to learn, kind of like Jordan Love did, like Aaron Rodgers and guys before him did? I don't know what to expect from generally don't know what to expect from the... Sorry, I just brain farted. Vikings. I was staring at the Packers logo and just full-on brain fog. But for the Vikings, I have no idea what to fully expect from them. I think Kyler's going to be pretty decent. But are him and Kevin O'Connell a match? Well, overall, like I said, the big J.J. McCarthy thing, he did not look the best last year. I don't know if he's really... I don't think he's that bad as he looked last year. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to say the least if he's going to end up being able to stick around. As for the Packers, what did they do at wide receiver? Pretty much Golden and Christian Watson. Tucker Kraft's coming back from the ACL. And then you got Josh Jacobs. Past that, the offense got really, really barren. Dobbs is out. Wicks is out. So you got to think that potentially they might be looking at wide receiver in this draft, which wouldn't be a bad play for them. This is a pretty deep wide receiver draft. So I'm curious to see if they end up going wide receiver or if they decide to bolster up the defense a little bit. Micah Parsons will be back for them next season as well. So Packers are a team that they went 9-7-1, but they honestly should have had a potentially even better season than they did. But the injury to Micah Parsons only getting him a little bit into the season as well. That's a team, you want to talk about sleeper teams. I mean, I don't think it's too much of a sleeper team, obviously, because they were pretty good last year, but that might be a sneaky, I mean, I won't lie. I don't even think it's going to be sneaky. I think we're going to hear a decent amount of teams talking about the Packers. But if they need to figure out the wide receiver part. They got Josh Jacobs, they got Jordan Love. They do need to figure out the wide receiver past Watson, because Watson's health, especially as of late, hasn't been the most reliable. So that is definitely something that they are going to want to look into. My question for the Bears, who do they draft defensively? It seems like, based on all mocks and just in general, a lot of the stories that are out there, Bears are going to take a guy on defense. There's Dylan Thielemann, who's been there. I mean, here's Caden Proctor one from Traeger, it's a shout out. Wouldn't be a bad addition to add him to the offensive line to protect Caleb Williams. I'm also curious to see how Caleb Williams is going to do next year. He had a pretty good year this year. I'm curious to see the next step he takes forward. I mean, this guy can make some damn throws. I'm still thinking about that fourth down, basically Hail Mary throw he had. That was just absolutely insane. He is a special player. Ben Johnson, I'm curious to see how they take the step up in year 2. They had the year 1 awesome year, but now they get the hard schedule. So how's that going to look out? So like I said, I'm curious to see. A lot of mocks have the Bears drafting a defensive guy. Who do the Bears draft defensively? And if they draft somebody offensively, this question probably just became a little bit more relevant. But, yeah, I do think they, like I said, a lot of mocks lately have had them drafting a defensive guy. So I'm curious to see if they end up taking a lineman, if they take a safety, or if, hey, maybe they do end up taking an offensive lineman. Because I think in this draft, I mean, it's a thing in general. There are not too many good offensive, especially tackles. There are not too many good offensive tackles in the draft ever. So if you're able to get your hands on one, you usually want to draft one, especially if you're able to have the advantage of being able to draft one. Because, like, hey, we don't need a running back here. We don't need a wide receiver here. We'll get a lot of these other positions. Let's take a big old lineman and get him in here, which I think would be a pretty good move for the Bears offensively. But you got to think they're going to want to fill some holes on defense after this offseason. Finally, we're going to end it off with the NFC West. We'll start with the San Francisco 49ers. Who the hell do they draft? Because this is a team that they have some potential. Oh, you know what? I take that question back. I'm glad shout out Peter Schrager. I'm glad I read this because this was actually a question I didn't have written down, but I think we're going to talk about. What is going on with Trent Williams? Are they going to get that figured out? Because that is a thing that could potentially... They could end up drafting a tackle in the draft if they don't get this Trent Williams thing figured out. Is Trent Williams going to be a 49er? That's going to be my question heading into the draft for the San Francisco 49ers because they don't figure out something with him. I think that if they draft the tackle, I mean, they might draft the tackle in general just so they can have somebody getting ready to learn behind Trent Williams, but that is a very, very curious situation because Trent Williams is a really good player for them. Had a pretty decent year last year. Wasn't fully up to his standards, though. Was a bit of a down year if you want to talk about Trent Williams standards, but overall he's still a pretty decent player. Curious to see what they do in that situation because, yeah, I don't think he's been signed back as of yet. As for the Los Angeles Rams, is this the final season of Matt Stafford? Pretty much sounds like he is coming back for sure. I mean, I think it's basically all but guaranteed at this point. So I'm curious to see, is this the last year for Matt Stafford, or does he feel like he still has some more good football in him? I mean, he's coming off an MVP, so it's kind of hard to, hang it up after you're playing some of your best football and winning an MVP. So, and it sounds like this might be a team that drafts a wide receiver, so if they can keep Matt Stafford upright and he's able to have fun throwing some of these weapons, maybe he does want to stay for a couple more years. The only thing with him is just the physically, is his body can be able to hold up. I mean, he just got destroyed in Detroit. So now it's to the point at the end of the year where, at this point too, with him being able to stay healthy all year, maybe we don't have to worry about the body as much, but obviously there's going to be a whole ramp-up and tune-up period where it takes most of the offseason to get ready and everything. So just curious to see how much longer we're going to see good old Matt Stafford throw around the football. As for the Seattle Seahawks, coming off the Super Bowl, just what are they're coming off the Super Bowl. They bring a lot of guys back. I guess my big question for them is, how do I want to word this? How do they? I don't want to say how do they repeat as champs. How do they defend the title? I guess that's the best phrasing I can think of. How do they defend the title? Because obviously they're coming off a Super Bowl where they look pretty dominant. I mean, shit, they're 14-3. They're pretty dominant all year. Coming off probably one of the best divisions in football, minus the Arizona Cardinals. Everyone's 12-5, 12-5, 14-3. We won't talk about the 3-14 Arizona Cardinals. But this is like I said, Seahawks coming off the Super Bowl. Curious to see how they defend the title because they're bringing a lot of guys back. Mac McDonald, he's going into year 3. Sam Darnold just signed an extension. I mean, I think they did lose Kenneth Walker and they did lose a couple defenders and everything like that, but that's the Super Bowl tax, stuff like that's going to happen. You got to wonder if this is going to be a team that potentially drafts a running back as well, but overall, yeah, very curious to see how they defend that title. Not too many questions for them. This was a really good team last year that's bringing back a lot. Final team, Arizona Cardinals. What in the hell are they going to do? Are they going to draft Ty Simpson? That's basically my question. Do they draft Ty Simpson this year? Or do they stink this year and try to draft a quarterback next year? I think the Jets are another team that's kind of rumored to Ty Simpson, but the 2 spots they draft at in the first round aren't ideal. I think for the Cardinals, I mean, they're kind of similar, though. I don't think they're going to take him at 3. But overall, I'm curious to see if the Arizona Cardinals do decide to draft Ty Simpson because if they don't get a quarterback this year, they're for sure getting one next year. They don't even have a quarterback in their room besides Jacoby Brissett, so yeah. That's a position of need for them. I mean, they desperately need one. No offense to Kyler, but it just did not work out there. I don't think it's fully his fault either, but it just didn't work out. So, it's been so long since they had great quarterback play, too. I mean, it just stinks. For the Arizona Cardinals, the only playoff image I have of them is a picture of Kyler Murray sitting on his butt, watching the Rams basically have like a 5-yard pick six against him. And they're losing like 34-0 or something. That's basically like my only image of the Arizona Cardinals in recent memory in the playoffs. Past that, my next memory is them losing in the Super Bowl to the Steelers, which is absolutely heartbreaking. But that Steelers one, that's like 2010, 2011. Like, that is years ago. So, yeah. Hopefully the Arizona Cardinals can get some stuff turned around. Because it's crazy to think. I forget the exact stat, but like basically they can have, I think go like 10 and... They can have a winning season and go like 12 and something. Or they can go undefeated for like this many seasons in a row. And they still have a losing record. It was something crazy like that. So Cardinals fans could really use some ups in their life. Because they've been beaten the hell down lately. Thank you all for watching today's report. I really do appreciate it. I'll be back in this feed on Tuesday next week to return to talk about some more NFL news. And prepare as we have head ever so closer to the NFL draft. Which is just crazy to think about. That time's already here. NFL playing games, we got 2 more to finish on Friday, and then the NBA playoffs officially kicks off, which is, yet again, crazy thing that NBA and NHL are already in their playoffs. Time is flying. We're 146 days away from the season. Before you know, it's going to be about 100. Thank you all for watching. Hope everyone has a great weekend. I'll see everyone back in this feed on Tuesday.